I'm excited to welcome to the show Nikki Spetseris, and she's going to talk about the ESPN Plus documentary Full Court Press. Nikki, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What inspired you to direct the second season of Full Court Press?
I mean, why wouldn't you want to? I have been waiting for these, women's sports documentary series to really take off for most of my career. So now that these are happening, I jumped at the chance to be a part of it. And, you know, three production companies are behind this. They're all very supportive. So I feel like we had all the resources to make a great show.
Oh, absolutely. How did you choose which athletes to feature this season?
It's really hard because obviously there's just so many talented athletes and good stories out there. I think that we did try to choose programs from across the country, different styles of coaching. All three of these women are at different stages in their college careers and they have very different personalities off the court. So I think we just wanted a good mix and hopefully, I think that people will tune in and they'll kind of have a favorite to root for. And yeah, having just a mix of personalities and locations seemed to help that attract to more people.
What was the most challenging part of filming this documentary series?
Yeah, I think that, we all come in with a lot of big creative ideas. And then with documentary work, especially with sports that are so consuming, you end up having to pivot and change the plan all the time. I think some added layers of that is following college aged athletes. They have school, they have sports, now they have different NIL deals. They also have their, family and personal obligations. So just scheduling the actual logistics is the hardest part. Sometimes we would plan to film for a day and we'd every hour is accounted for when you're with a film crew, right? And then practice would all of a sudden the time would change or it would get canceled and we just have to shift what the whole day was about. So yeah, just kind of rolling with it and being open to what these athletes are naturally doing and not trying to kind of force anything too much.
Yeah, because you force things too much, it's just it's a problem for sure. And it's just you never know what you're gonna create when you're filming, right?
Yeah, I think you go in with ideas of who these characters are and kind of some big storylines, but then you have to let it guide you, and I think the most interesting one was Flau'jae Johnson is very busy. I mean, all of these women are, but Flau'jae has, more NIL deals than almost any other athlete. And we just knew when we would end up in Baton Rouge that we'd have to like throw the plan out the window. And that was part of the fun of it, but also, you got to have the right people on your team that will just kind of roll with it. And yeah, the fact that we did that, Flau'jae opened up to us and trusted us because we were kind of like on her timeline.
And her timeline, you just never know. And it's amazing how big college women's basketball has become.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think that obviously last year was a breakout year, and I think a lot of people had questions if this season could sustain that momentum. And I think, obviously it has. More people have tuned in. They're still getting high ratings. People are talking about women's hoops, and hopefully a show like this just keeps moving the needle forward.
I mean, think about the NBA and Bird and Magic, and now see what's happened with the WNBA, how it's really just exploded the sport altogether for women.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting, and I think that for me, it's a long time coming, right? But I just think the more stories that are told and the more, primetime games, the more the spotlight shines on women's hoops, the more people will just become fans.
Well, the way things have changed, Nikki, is before it used to be, okay, we only broadcast to one channel, one group of people, and that's all we focus our marketing intention to. Now there's so many people have communities, and these communities build this gigantic ecosystem. And this is what's happening with women's college hoops and WNBA. Is this a different community that doesn't watch other sports but only stays into women's hoops? Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's funny because I feel like the more I've been out and about in different parts of the country filming this show, you just talk to people, right? That's my nature. And there's a lot of fans that you would anticipate, like just former female athletes like myself. But I talk to a lot of men who are like, "Oh my God, it's so exciting! They're so physical. They pass the strap, you know." And it's just so funny how many men tune in thinking they might not enjoy it, and then they get hooked. And then I do think hopefully there's this new crop of boys and girls that are just, it won't be weird for them. They'll just be women's hoops
No,
fans from,
exactly.
from a young age.
They have an opportunity not just to get a college scholarship, but make money. I mean, that just adds a new profession to the game of college hoops. And what are your thoughts again on the NIL deals and stuff? Do you think it's a long time coming for athletes in college?
Yeah, listen, I think obviously these athletes, it is a full-time job. I mean, just being around them, they might practice 2 or 3 times a day. They do recovery, they go weightlifting. They obviously do press, and obligations for the school, donor meetings. So yes, I obviously think that they should be compensated, and I think that's fair. I think the layer as a filmmaker is, they're busier than ever. They're balancing school, sport, and now all these business opportunities. But I do think at least these 3 women, like, they really balance with grace, and I can't believe how much they do. And hopefully it's just teaching them, like, they all have these dreams of being business moguls and having their own foundations and having their own businesses. So I don't know, I think, it adds some hardship to their schedules, but I also think, you know bigger and better things will come out of
Exactly.
it.
It's all about brand. And if people understand, like, even if you're just a successful top college athlete, if you take that to the professional world because you didn't get to play, but probably they would play in overseas, but after that time, that brand will create a career that they never thought they could come up with, and this is the opportunities that brand brings. Once you have a brand, it's difficult to not have opportunities. That's the thing. I have conversations with the athletes all the time saying, do you know how much powerful your brand is? And, they're trying to carve new careers. I said, this is an opportunity. Just take it the same way you do athletics into the professional entrepreneur world. And it's a lot of fun. You just got to
Oh, it's
really.
been really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, just watching, when I wasn't on the road, when I was just watching March Madness games from home or the hotel, I mean, every other commercial was Flau'jae was a lot of them, but
Yeah.
these big women's college hoop stars. I mean, we're talking, Powerade and Nike and
Right.
Red Bull, and Kiki has the first Skechers deal, and like they're just, yeah, the brands. This is kind of the start of it, right?
Right. And then they need to study. And then also the people around them need to study Michael Jordan, study Magic Johnson, study some of the people, all the brands. They kept that brand going forever to creating
Mm-hmm.
this next level. It's all about an evolution. And hopefully the people around them see that evolution. I had a conversation with a sports agent who said basically to me, hey, Neil, that's the big thing is we have to get to parents early so that they get the right advice because they're going to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
However, what are they going to do with that money? And how are they going to invest it and then have a great career after sports? That's the big thing that is a challenge that everyone has to go with when an opportunity comes your way. Where can people check out the documentary? I can't wait to watch it. It's on ESPN Plus. How can we catch up?
Yep. 2 episodes are on ESPN Plus already and Hulu, and then 2 more episodes air Sunday on ESPN2, and then we'll be on ESPN Plus immediately following.
All right, fantastic. I love it. Thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.